Why, hello, Fairfield. You're seeing another exciting episode of Fairfield 2.0. And, it's going to be exciting, I promise you, because we're going to get into all sorts of things. And with us today, you're not here for me. I want you to be here for these guys, the Giacomini's. You do know who they are. Giacomini, you're going to have to tell us what that means, by the way, if you know. We may not know. Okay.
Oh my God.
I don't even know Bergonia. I don't know what Bergonia is.
You just looked it up, but...
we have, that's an odd way to start, I'm sorry. We have Merritt Giacomini and we have Steve Giacomini. They are, I think, the reigning, excuse me, Ed, but I think they're the reigning mayor and mayoress of town. And I'm really, I'm really blowing it today. But I think we have to jump right in with the story. Sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ed, from me too. I think that we have to start from the beginning. You guys came to Fairfield. Why Fairfield?
I came in 1985 because my daughter was 5 years old, about ready to start school, and I'd been convinced that this was the place to bring a child and raise a child, and I was very happy I did. So.
Well, I was actually a student here in the beginning, from day one, 1974. I grew up in Southern California, in Long Beach, California, and when MIU was in Santa Barbara, it was a 2-hour drive north, and so I thought that's a no-brainer. So I enrolled there and arrived just in time for the meeting that Keith called to make a special announcement.
Keith Wallace.
Keith Wallace, sorry.
Yeah.
That we'd bought a campus and we're moving, and the room was just excitement.
Right. The good news is a new campus.
Then it's in Iowa, and there was like a unified gasp, and it was. Most people, I think, just didn't know what
you to expect out of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, here we are. I was 2 hours away. I thought, Iowa, where's that?
2 hours away.
It's more than 2 hours. I know it. But we're sitting in ideal sunshine, climate, everything every day. So people were a little worried, but here we are. I was here for the first year, and then.
So that's 74. You ended up.
74, yeah.
Okay.
And went up to teacher training after that.
Teacher training for Maharishi to become a Transcendental Meditation teacher.
Oh, thank you. And let's see. And then moved here. Actually, came back in 1990, so I've been there since then.
Okay. Merritt?
Yes?
How did you end up in Fairfield?
Well, as I said, my daughter was young, and I was ready to make a change, and I was kind of young and foolish, and picked up everything I owned, put it in a trailer, and just moved it all here without a job or a place to live or anything.
Was it based on the community
here?
Oh,
definitely. Yeah, I forget that that's not just taken for granted, but yes.
And that's why children. You want to raise them in an environment that's nice.
Yes. Yeah, it was very compelling to me to be in a community of meditators with, just a love for, I think I'm getting lost here.
No, with a love for like the arts and the community and that type of thing that was happening here. What was the art scene when you guys got here? It was a very exciting time.
Well, I mean, even, I sort of, the idea of coming to Iowa, even that was exciting. We didn't, I had to tell you the truth, I didn't know exactly where it was. I just knew it was out there somewhere. And, but I really didn't know what to expect.
Neither did I, by the way.
The classic thing everyone says, it's, incredibly flat and all that. And I remember when I first arrived, I drove, and it was late August. And as we came in, it was flat before that. But as we came into, going across to Nebraska, it's flat. But as we came into Iowa, there's these beautiful green expanses everywhere, rolling hills everywhere, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So that was a nice surprise. But it was exciting just the beginning of the university. We actually had a university to work with. Before that, we were camping out in a hotel resort, and with a real university to work with. It was very exciting, kind of being on the beginning of that.
Okay, so you are You have the arguably, or not, or inarguably, not arguably
We're not gonna argue
the
here.
best. Well, I won't say it's the place that people tend to go in the mornings, Cafe P, and congregate during the day. You've created a wonderful environment. It's an establishment where people go and they really feel homey. How? I want to know because I've only been living here for 2 years. What's the origin story of Cafe P? Like, when did that become an idea, and then how did that come into fruition?
Well, at some point in my life, I moved from Long Beach up to Berkeley, California. And Berkeley, I think, has always been sort of a, kind of a coffee house
Environment. Yeah.
environment. And I spent a lot of time in coffee houses in Berkeley. And in that time, a lot happened in my life, and I felt like how important that time in the coffee house, hanging out in the coffee house, was to my life. I mean, people kid me about it, but it's serious to me, and I felt, I think people tend to think of me as the coffee guy, but what's more important to me is the environment. Obviously, I'm into coffee, and
Hey, this is hot chocolate. I mean, this isn't coffee. I know you have great coffee, but I go there because I want to have. Cheers. This is, by the way, a prop. This comes from Cafe P, and there's a little hot chocolate in it. But I just wanted to. Going in there, it feels like home. I mean, you've created an environment beyond
that's
just
good,
coffee. Although the coffee's great, I hear.
Well, we try. I think I just felt like a good coffee house is an essential thing in a community. I felt like so much, if you create the right environment, it should be stimulating to creativity and conversation. Coffee tends to be stimulating to conversation.
Stimulating in general.
Yeah, in general. But I like just the overall, the connection with the arts and the art of making a nice place and great coffee.
And the art of making a great coffee. Now, what's great is every once in a while, as everybody knows who's been to Cafe P, you have the Cafe Paradiso, by the way. I'm not sure we even said that was Cafe Paradiso.
Everybody knows.
you have, all of a sudden, it'll be the mystery door from the floor opens up, and then someone will either be coming down or up.
Mystery door.
The mystery door. And no one's ever seen what's down there, but magical beans arrive in plentiful amounts. It's really fun to watch then the traffic and the aroma that comes out of there, and just the aroma that's in the cafe. It is a lifestyle. We might as well, in some respects, be in another country. Perhaps Italy. Ragonia, Giacomini, we're going here. But it's a beautiful environment that you've set up, and you could tell that the love that you put in there, and you guys are there a lot. When you look at the crowds that are in there, there has to be an element. I'm putting words in your mouth, and I'm sorry, but I feel this way. Even. There has to be this environment. There has to be this element of like looking around and feeling like, yeah, I'm proud of my kids.
Well, I have to admit that's true. Especially when we have a night. We have a show that's packed.
Oh, you have music there too?
We get some great stuff. It's just blown my mind what the quality of entertainment we get. It just gets better and better.
Let's go back to the feeling like these are.
Oh yeah. On a night that it's packed in there and we've got a great show going on, it feels really good.
It feels really good.
I mean, there are days where I don't feel good. It can be a lot of work, and but when that happens, and you see people just beaming, and it's a really great feeling.
And you've really made their lives both more interesting, or rather, you've added another thing to their lives. They come for. I mean, I don't want to say cult. It isn't. I don't want to make it as bigger than it is. It's not like, well, this is the cultural center. But in a lot of respects, it is. I mean, you guys. Let's talk about the music now. You guys have brought in everything ranging from like great artists, major artists, to a lot of. You're very supportive of the growing artist, of the up and coming artist, and the maturing artist. and the mature artists and the local artists, and also certain flavors of music like Irish music. There's a lot of Irish music that seems to pass through Cafe Paradiso.
Yeah.
But it does seem like that stage feels like the community stage. I mean, how many times have the Hurlins and the Cohens been up there? How many times have... it's almost like the place where some of these kids in town have grown up on, too. Speaking of family, for getting back to what we said earlier. Adrian Daller, the Dallers, I know.
Yeah, Adrian's been at the cafe since it started 10 years ago. So we're going on 10 years now.
You know what's nice is the other night you had Jonah. Jonah was playing... Jonas.
Yeah.
Edit. Right, Jonah and the Whale.
Right.
It's Jonah and the Whale and Jonas. But we had Jonas there, and the town was there looking like it was the best friend on stage. These are people who obviously they knew him. They'd spent many years with him. They knew all of his songs. That he was referring to them as, and 20 years ago I wrote this, and people would be applauding before he even started to sing the song. So this whole environment of that stage belonging to the community, and people growing up, like I said, growing up on that stage, and people feeling warmth. I've done a couple of Christmas concerts. I've yet to do my own performance there.
We did
talk about it.
We had a few dates.
We had a couple of dates. I apologize. We're going to get there. Thank you. But the whole deal with it is the town hall. That's it. That's where I'm going with this. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. It's a town hall almost. I mean, people talk. What do they do there? That's a place of gabbing. Also, that's a place where when you coffee, you go to this table, you go to that table. When you go to some other establishments who won't be mentioned in town, a lot of times it's for the meal, and a lot of times it's for you're bringing your entourage, and your entourage is sitting there in your table or whatever. But in your place, it's almost like the whole purpose is connecting. I've heard deals being made. I've heard businesses being planned over there. Revolutions being staged. By the way, next week, next Tuesday night, I wouldn't go out on the...
Right.
No, but the whole... What are your thoughts on that?
That's
this
exactly it. I mean, that's exactly what I hope it provides.
Especially the revolution.
Pretty much, yeah, especially
the revolution.
It's traditional. I mean,
but that's what you wanted. Merritt, I want to move on to you because you have actually, as I'll confess to here, I've been going through a difficult period. But you are a wonderful herbalist, and I'm going to praise you to the nth degree right now because you gave me this tincture the other day that I was like, okay, great, we'll try this. You know, everybody goes through that. It's like, okay, we'll try this. Here's a little thing of pills. Here's a little thing of this. So it's like, okay, we'll try this. It's like, well, the tables, you go from table to table, and everybody, it's like they've got different ointments and different things they're into, different astrologies. It's really amazing. What a town. In a good way. Now, I take the tincture, I put it in, I take a taste of it as recommended. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I take it again a little later. Totally has changed my perspective. And I have no idea why. Why?
No idea where it is.
What did you put
What
in
the
there?
heck is this? What have you done?
it comes from the basement.
That's right. You see them come upstairs with the holy vat of the mystical juice. Will you describe what you've been doing? This is your question. What's in that? No, I want to make my own. I want to know what your connection with herbs is just so tight. Obviously, you've been doing it for half the town also. So when did you get into it? What is the story of that?
You know, I came to a moment in my life several years ago where
This is all
I don't know what I'm
you get to a point and you start saying, okay, what is it that I love? You know, how is it that I can help mankind? I mean,
this was a help mankind moment.
How can I help make Gorgonia?
2 years from now, Mike is going to be coming in really bummed out. I'm going to have to figure something out. I can't look at him like that. Oh,
I
God.
gotta go to school. Quick.
Right? I'm going to have to either run away.
I went to school. I just want you to know, I went to school.
You went to school for this?
I did.
For a few years?
For about 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, at the East-West School of Herbal Medicine.
Nice. Where is that?
In Santa Cruz, California. I did a lot of distance learning. But I was fascinated, really, by a form of medicine that was much less expensive, for one thing. Also, fewer side effects.
Aspirin?
No,
aspirin, okay.
Well, aspirin's, yeah. That's
It goes from
good
a tree,
solution.
right?
It does. It does. It's true. Yeah, so I just started pursuing that avenue and very heavily studied Chinese medicine.
Nice.
So the formula you got is a pretty classic Chinese formula.
Nice.
You didn't necessarily intend to end up specializing in Chinese. Is that correct?
No, and I studied general herbalism.
So basically, so what you're doing is you're, excuse me, today, got a little, you're coming into the mixing all sorts of disciplines. Are you being
Yes.
intuitive about it?
Yeah, somewhat intuitive, but the wonderful thing is it's very objective. I take a pulse, which I didn't do with you. I do a tongue analysis too, which I didn't do with you either.
I'm not going to show my tongue to Fairfield.
Wrong formula. Stop.
Okay, sorry.
No,
You got my formula. Give me that back.
Wait a minute, that's right. I'm way too happy. I got to give you this formula back. I'm not used to this.
yeah,
Oh my
actually,
God.
I didn't really follow my usual protocol with you. What I do is a pretty in-depth interview.
Okay.
I ask a lot of questions that you can't imagine make any sense.
Yeah, but we had a long discussion, so I
We
think you
did.
got a deal.
We
You got
did.
the idea of what was
No,
going
and
on.
that was a lot of intuition there, but
Thanks.
and helpful information. Thank
Nice.
you.
Oh, I'm like, oh, I see that. Well, you know what? I'm gonna. The thing is, this vial is gonna go away someday, and I'm gonna be like, oh no, I can't go back to the way that was.
I got it now.
Oh, Merritt. Hi, Merritt. How are you?
And the price will go up.
Right, exactly.
Up.
Here's my $10. 10?
What?
I believe it was 50.
Got it.
Do you find? Look, I'm wackily giddy from the difference that I was from yesterday, and I really do blame your magic
Yes.
mix. Do you have this sometimes with other people? Do people come to you and go, "What have you done?"
Absolutely.
This
I've
is like-
literally had people walk up and say, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
One of our baristas was really suffering with allergies, and I gave him something, and the next day he was totally fine. And he's looking at me like, kind of backing off. You know, like,
What's going on here?
but it's not me.
I'm scared, but I love it.
It's not me. I need to make that real clear.
If it's not okay, fine, it's not you, but that's like a chef saying, "Oh, it's not me, it's the food. It tastes so, it already has a naturalness."
Yes.
But I think it's a combination of both, don't you think? It's the
It's-
energy you're putting into the
Right.
focus and the energy that you're putting into the.
Definitely, I'm showing up.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the
showing
thing,
up.
and I'm
Nice.
showing up with my skill,
Yeah.
and
Now,
then using.
your knowledge. What about staying current? Are there things that you do to check out what's out there now to see what you might be adding to your
It's a
message?
She is
constant
studying
process.
all the time.
It's a constant process.
I never tell you this, but I'm impressed, and
Oh.
it's amazing to me.
Oh,
She's
honey.
on it all the time. I'm reading some novel, and she's reading like all these weird Chinese texts. You know, this is very-
Sitting side by side in bed, it's like,
Right.
honey, you got to see what's going. Merritt?
What is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm answering.
It
for
will be forever, a constant keeping on top of things, learning more. It's a huge field.
So when I come to you again I don't imagine that thing is going to be lasting more than 2 days. You will have read so much. I'm kidding.
How many droppers
Click,
did you
click, 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 click.
Yes.
This is great. No, I'm just wondering, like, if somebody comes to you with, let's say they need a refill or something, at that point, do you do like another analysis or something?
I usually do a brief analysis, a few questions. I won't go through the whole routine necessarily, but I'll check in. Because if anything isn't going right, then I can change that formula very easily because I make all my own tinctured herbs.
Right.
So I formulate.
Oh, nice.
I have my own little sort of
Lab.
pharmacy, although that's the wrong word.
Wrong word,
I'm not
wrong-
a medical doctor, no.
And no prescriptions are
No
going on here, or
prescriptions.
subscriptions.
No diagnoses, no. But
So you end up with these, and I know I asked you this earlier, but are you happy with the results of a lot of people are having?
I'm so impressed with the herbs because they do what they say they're going to do. And so if I do my job right and I get the correct information from people, I'm careful to ask the right questions, then it's a home run.
Can I ask you something? I think a lot of people in town, and I mean this with all reverence, but I think that because of everybody's different disciplines and everybody's different backgrounds, some people are more afraid of certain herbs than others, particularly things that are spicy, garlic, onions, things like that, and it's because of certain disciplines that they're following and certain suggestions within the discipline. My being Italian, I've come to a town which doesn't really emphasize onions and garlic. I find that a little hard sometimes.
Come over to our house.
Oh, there you go with the Giacomini's. Yes. Oh, and Jason Strong. Hello, Jason. Do you cook with? You have a lot of garlic and onion at your house too?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I love garlic.
Uh-huh.
And I love onions.
Okay. So what should I bring when I come over this
You'll
week?
provide the garlic.
This
Garlic
Tuesday.
and onions.
No, garlic and onions. That's what you're doing.
We'll come up with a meat. Well,
All right, I'll bring you bulbs of garlic and onions. I also want to get to the music part because we touched on it a tiny bit earlier. You've had all sorts of folks come through Cafe P, including, like I said, including the locals. The locals, everybody knows. We'll get to the locals, and we've had some of the locals on the show. We've had a lot of locals on the show now. But who are some of the? Well, better yet, what's the philosophy with how you bring acts into town to play at Cafe Paradiso?
I think that it essentially boils down to if I'm moved by what they do. I've gone through all kinds. It's been a learning process. I mean, I've been a musician all my life, and I feel like I know music. But everyone has their individual tastes, and I mean, one of the things I've done sometimes is get a little bit too distracted by what I think people might want, and
Okay.
and I feel like over the years, what really works is to go with my
Got it.
yeah, and I think that's gonna partly because I'm enthusiastic about what I'm presenting.
Yeah.
That makes a big
Merritt's
difference.
pointed that out to me because
Right.
people they're asking me about what's coming up, and I usually write an article about what's coming up, and so it shows. I can't hide.
How enthusiastic you are about this act or whatever.
But I have to say I'm amazed at how much great stuff is out there. I didn't really expect to have such good. I created a stage, and I hope to have. You mentioned Irish earlier on.
Yeah.
We have an incredible resource in town.
By the name of Tim Britton.
Exactly.
Who's
We
been on
take
the show, by
He's
the
been
way.
on the show.
we take him for granted.
I love that guy. I love you, Tim.
But I can tell you from direct experience, he's famous from Ireland to San Francisco.
Nice.
I've been in pubs in Ireland, and I've been in pubs in San Francisco. And when they find out I know Tim Britton, they're like, "Whoa, you know Tim Britton?"
He's also a recording. He's like a producer, and he's also a
Yeah.
musician for other people's records. A little bit of an arranger and stuff too, right?
Yes.
Not a little bit,
Yeah.
I guess, an arranger too. Yeah.
So Tim and I have been close friends since I've been here. Pretty much.
Let's put a bookmark here because I want to go into your musical history.
Uh-huh.
You're using your taste and you're using et cetera, but you also play instruments, right?
Yeah.
What is your musical history?
Well, it started out with guitar because I wanted to be a Beatle.
I believe it was the sixth
Maybe
Beatle,
we
but then
decided it
decided
Yeah.
couldn't be the sixth, because Billy Preston would be the fifth, Eric Clapton would be the sixth,
Yeah.
you'd be the seventh.
Yeah. Anyway, because everyone wanted to be the Beatles, and so guitar was the chosen instrument. But I went from guitar. I at some point became fascinated with Renaissance music. Believe it or not.
Well, how'd you get turned on to that? School?
No, I think I started studying classical guitar in my around senior year in high school. And everything I wanted to play, at one point my teacher said, everything you are interested in was written for flute. You ought to look into playing that.
Interesting. Who were the things you were interested in playing? Meaning, was it mainly Vivaldi, or who were some of the artists?
Pre-Vivaldi. I mean, I love Baroque.
Beautiful,
Bach would, if I could only
yeah.
have one composer, I think it would be Bach. But and that's Baroque though. That's after.
That's after, yeah.
After the Renaissance. John Dallin from
Interesting.
Elizabethan Shakespeare's time.
Interesting.
He's number one.
Who of the?
Hands down.
I was the guy. Interestingly, one of the more. I guess he's not a very accented or a player, a classical guitar player who plays with a lot of oomph, but I still love his approach, is John Williams.
Oh yeah.
His versions of anything Vivaldi, I think, are the versions for the most part. And then there are people like Julian Bream.
Julian Bream, yes.
Loved Julian
Yeah,
Bream.
he's amazing. Julian Bream is he's somewhat known for playing lute. He actually was more of a guitarist and played an instrument that was shaped like a lute and had strings like a lute. But the time that those were built, it was built much more like a guitar, and his technique. Basically, just transferring his technique. But it doesn't really matter. The bottom line, he's a great musician, and his interpretations of some of the Renaissance material is really incredible.
So you started getting into so you started.
Yeah, so I found
it.
it turned out that I think we're going way back. I think it happened that my classical guitar teacher's brother made lutes. And at the time, this would have been like 1972 or something. That was rare. I mean, here or in Europe. So it was just by chance. But anyway, I ordered a lute and I, dropped the guitar and it was lute all the way for about 10 years maybe. And then I started, shifting my. I started hearing some Irish stuff here and there. But then I met Tim. I'm going into way too much detail. This is
this is excellent. No. This is excellent. What about Tim? You guys go way back then.
Yeah, I've been here since 1990, like I said, and I met him sometime shortly after I arrived. Actually, a close friend of mine said, "There's a true Pied Piper living in Fairfield. You got to meet this guy." And she said, "I'm not kidding." So we got together. It was kind of immediate. Love at first sight. We became really close friends, and have been close friends ever since.
And he's oh my God! The other night with Jonas, Jonas,
I missed him.
he was great. He was really, really good. It just casually playing. Although I know he knows that material. On the other hand, just the fluidity of his style and it's so easy to him. It's like another limb. It's a beautiful thing.
He's a great musician.
Cafe P, by the way, Cafe P.
So I ended up spending a lot of time following Tim around to Irish music sessions all over, the country, to Irish music festivals, and at a certain point I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to play. I've had it, and so I took up Irish fiddle at that point. And concentrated on that for about 10 years. Very intensely. Yeah, I was sometimes playing 8 hours a day.
Now I've seen you on all sorts of it. Now I'm remembering seeing you on other
confusing.
instruments too.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Well, about 3 years ago, maybe, or 4 years ago, it suddenly
the horn instrument came into the mix
tenor
too.
sax.
Now for something completely different.
I remember
logical
seeing
progression.
Clarence Clemens one night. I'm like, what?
Lute to tenor sax. Come on, everyone does
It's
that.
an obvious thing to do.
Yeah, I had to do it.
It was beautiful. I forgot what the event was, but it was for the thing Jimmy Moore and the Hurling Brothers.
What do we call that?
Choir. Apocalypse.
Yeah, Apocalypse Boys Choir.
Boys Choir, that's it.
Tantric Boys Choir, yeah.
Tantric.
Yeah. I think they dropped the tantric.
Maybe another.
Apocalyptic Tantric Boys Choir, right?
Yes.
From Memphis.
From Memphis, and that's part of
That
it.
was
From
it.
Memphis, okay.
Yeah.
I think so.
But yeah, that was a joy. To see sort of like,
was.
and here's Steve Giacomini. That's another. Let's talk about that. Well, no. Before we talk about that, I have to ask you: how many times a year do you go to Renaissance fairs?
0. I'm done with that.
It's kind of a joke.
Yeah. They were a little disappointing to me.
Have you been to? You have been to one, maybe?
I used to play at the California one in the north, in Nevada.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they're not depicted very well.
Well,
in movies,
in the early
especially.
days of those big fairs, it was pretty cool. They were exciting, and people were really into it, knew a lot about the period.
Yeah.
But now they're like big business, and the feeling is different. And
now it's dinner theater.
I'm tired of the whole thing.
Done.
Yeah.
And wait a minute. we have another musician here with us. You're a singer and a dancer.
Get over here.
Merit Giacomini.
Yeah, and now Merit's gonna do.
On this table, right here.
We've already done belly dancing here. If you care to show us a little something, we're fine. No, I would love to talk about that. You got into dancing and you're into singing. How far back does that go?
The dancing goes back to college days, and then with a huge break in the middle, and suddenly this revival.
Which was her
in,
daughter.
In my, I'm not saying what decade I'm in, but anyway, sudden desire to go back and dance.
She lives to dance.
It's a miracle.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, after a dance rehearsal, she comes bursting in the door, screaming. I mean,
like she's had the tincture that she made me. Yes,
I've
exactly.
never seen anybody so happy.
I do love to dance. It's definitely a passion. I've been dancing with the studio close by here.
In Morningside?
Or? No, the one right next to the cafe, actually.
Oh, right, exactly. The
Fairfield
one, right,
Dance.
of course.
Yeah,
of
Tiffany
course.
Sanner and Jerry Paglia, Elizabeth Bender.
Right.
So, having a great time, learning a few Michael Jackson moves. And
are you doing a little? I forgot the name of I forgot the guy who did those videos. The guy who would do the. He was a Bob Fosse kind of admirer, and he incorporated those, the beat it, the diamonds, whatever you call it, the triangle dance towards the camera. That stuff that everybody kind of uses now, and they have the. Anyway, that. It's a jazz style meets sort of almost modern rap. It was in Thriller also with all the zombies at the end coming.
Yes.
Bob. Oh God, Garcia Bob. I can't remember his last name, but he's the one who made it famous in all these videos. I'll remember by the end of the show.
Yeah, I wish I would. But I
you can always splice it back in.
No, we're going from the top, warts and all. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is the whole, Fairfield. Fairfield is this, we're waiting for like the Oprah wave, this whole new influx of people to be coming in. Any day now, thousands and thousands will be coming. I don't know if anybody's made it here yet. I know that the Oprah show has aired
They're on
at least
the way.
like
They just haven't quite.
in the Conestoga wagons and
Trying to find Iowa.
Trying to find Iowa. I know it's somewhere here. But I know, but I think this community is a special community. I mean, it's very obviously because people have come in. The meditators have come in for the Maharishi element. You have, but you also have this community of incredibly and growing. It's an artistic community, a musical community. Now it's sustainable living. This town is I can't think of another American town that does what we do, and in the enclosure of 5.9 miles.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that, about Fairfield? This is Fairfield 2.0 after all.
Well, like you said, there's no place like it. That's for sure.
I've only been here 2 years, and I do have to ask the question because I like history lessons.
You should just stand and watch the reaction of the artists that come through. They're coming through from
pick it
all
up
over.
immediately.
They're from New York. They're coming through from Canada. They come in like, what is going on here?
What is this?
Where am I? I mean, they see all the stuff on the wall, the posters of all that's going on, not only at the cafe but
all the events
One of the shows we had, David Berkeley, who lives in Berkeley.
Interestingly.
Yes.
Ironically.
How convenient is that?
No, it's actually coincidental, not ironically.
He happened to come the day that that ballet was. I don't know if you were here, but
we had ballet.
It was put on by Hampshire Auditorium. We had
I vaguely remember something.
National
I've been
level
here for 2 years.
ballet troupe put on a show right on the square, and then there was all kinds of other things going on. And he looked at me like, he said, like this all the time? I said, well, maybe not exactly like this, but close. Which makes it a little challenging to book things.
Well, okay, now that's exactly because there's so much going on at all times. You've got the Sondheim, you've got Cafe P, we've got the beauty shop with the kids, we've got Top of the Rock, not Top of the Rock, we've got Red Rock. You've got sometimes Vivo has stuff.
Yeah.
There's another venue or two that happen occasionally.
Morningstar. Events occasionally.
And then whatever might be happening. I don't know if you mentioned the Sondheim, but there's
and then the other side of the Sondheim.
Campus sometimes.
And then the campus and then stuff at MUM. Yeah. It's an interesting way that the town functions because it seems to be built to a degree on entertainment, or at least
The
appreciating the
arts.
arts. Art
Yeah,
walk. We have
right.
art walk that is, in a lot of times, especially the summer, it's truly populated, very populated with, with everything going on in the green and all that. And every town sort of has their art walk, right? That's become the more popular thing. But here, it takes on another level. You have the art walk combined with like spirituality and music, and it expands the concept more. That's, I think,
We have an unusual situation, obviously, here, where we have people, from all over the country living in a small town in Iowa. And so in a way, we have the best of both worlds, because a lot of people are sick of, the big cities. And it's a lot, in many ways easier to live here. But you have big city people with big city sensibility. And I think, they're used to having, well, living in New York, used to having all the variety in the world.
Yeah.
There. Any night of the week, you've got so much to choose from. So I think, there's a little bit of that anyway, that people are looking to pull some of that in to kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, right. It's sort of like a well, and that's what you're doing. You have a sense of, I can bring these people in because I know that even though it might be my personal taste, it isn't like I need to take the pulse of everybody. I know this is good, and this is going to be on a caliber that people will understand the level of good. That's another thing about the town, is that they understand. They're very supportive, and I've used a certain artist as an example of this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to bring them back again. But there are people where they are the childhood heroes, or they are the hometown heroes, and they've gone off and then they come back, and everybody, it's sort of like after every song, standing ovations or whatever. And I think that gets to be too much, but it does speak to the love that the town has towards the people, towards the arts, towards the kids. I call them kids because for the most part they're the ones that everybody grew up with. But I feel like in the case of the art and the level of art and music in this town, it's the level of blues is a good level of blues. The level of rock we've surrendered, I think, because we had, my feeling is, other than the Red Rock, we've had no good venue to really be able to put rock. So we've surrendered rock to the beauty shop, and so now rock has sort of become more of an alternative, youngish skew, which is great and healthy, and it actually gives the kids a command of something in town, you know what I mean? It empowers them. It's a really beautiful thing, actually. The beauty shop is the concept of the beauty shop and the Bunnell Project and how that all evolved is just, that speaks to how incredible Fairfield is also.
It's fabulous.
I know, and I'm gonna dredge this out because it's the elephant in the room. But there was a time when I just do this. Now you guys are fine. No. I'm just gonna go on a little tangent here.
Just like, what's coming?
What's he gonna do now?
It's supposed to be obvious.
My feeling is that there has been, and I've had a lot of the kids from the beauty shop here. To sort of, one reason is to sort of debunk this idea that they're any different than any of the rest of us. They're a lot. In fact, they were so much fun. They're great. Very, very supportive of them. And look at, the Rabelais. You've got people who are like, people that are constant. They're like they don't slow down. They're the ever ready bunny. And you've got Joey D. You have Joe. Joe Del Rey. You've got. We're in agreement. And sometimes they appear in various configurations. We talked about the Hurlins, the Cohens, and all that. But that's a different kind of breed. I'm talking about now the more alternative stuff. That's happening at the beauty shop. I think sometimes we get mixed up, not as a community, but as we have this sort of belief system that sometimes the kids are pushing the boundaries too much. For instance, one of the kids put out an album that said something like "I Love Evil" or something, whatever the title was, and it was a goof. It was just a joke. And you know what? Even if it wasn't a joke, it's an artistic statement. And people, when the posters went up in town, people were ripping down the posters. So it was like, this isn't, that's the one time where I feel like sometimes, and this is a good thing. It feels like the community is still in a growing stage. Like we haven't seen the end. We're not at the end of the rainbow yet. We're still, and it's a beautiful thing because like I said, it seems like we've grown a lot, and we've grown a lot together. I guess even the 2 years that I've been here. I feel like I've totally changed as a human from when I first got here till now. I'm so much more conscious of stuff that I wasn't before. Both my behaviors, other people's behaviors, how interacting how to go a little softer sometimes. Things that weren't in maybe things that weren't in my nature before. And I'm really grateful to Fairfield for stuff like that. And I'm not attributing it totally to the fact that for meditation or for something like that. I'm attributing it to being a Fairfieldian now. There's something that rubbed off. There's something that's made me a better person, I feel personally, for being here. And I see it in everybody. I see the glow. I see it, again, I don't think it's just about meditation. It's about people growing together as a community and being family. This family is a true extended family. Everybody's kids have grown up with everybody else's kids. The Hurlins might as well have grown up in the Cohens, and the Cohens might as well have grown up in the Hurlins. I mean, you've got that all in the Downs and all this, you've got all of this going on.
Yeah.
But to finish that thought, so that was it was all in good fun, but I really feel like there are some challenges that are still there. But on the other hand, if family is supposed to be growing together, then we'll be growing together to meet those challenges at some point anyway.
Yeah.
So there is a support system, regardless of any of that, any maybe little negative things that happen like that. There's a support system here that I've almost never seen anywhere else. Also,
Absolutely.
I mean, name a town where you can walk down the street and everybody kind of knows what each other's doing, and to whatever degree somebody's either having hardship or they're having some really good luck or whatever, they're treated the same way. There's no real snootiness that I can say. I do see a little snootiness. Yes, I do. But you kind of blow that off, and it's like, yeah, that figures. You just kind of blow it off. But that's why I'm proud of Fairfield. It's been such a beautiful experience for me, and you guys. Now we'll get to the end. You guys have been a part of it. I think that you have added. And Ed Malloy, we talked about the mayor earlier. Okay, Ed Malloy and people that are genuinely good spirits have added to the beauty and the identity of the town. There's no way you contributed to the culture. And from everything we described earlier, in my opinion anyway, from everything we described earlier about how people go there, and it's the place you go for. It's a town hall.
This is his genius.
And I applaud your genius.
I don't know how to take that, but thank you.
That's a good way to take it.
And what's your favorite coffee at your place? By the way,
Called the Steve at this point, I guess.
The Steve, that's right. I saw the Steve on the board, and I was like, should I order the Steve at some point? It's like, oh, that's right.
If you're man enough.
I'm man enough. I drink chai, sir.
No, I'm not snobby about coffee. I'm into it, but you should have it exactly the way you want it. I'm not
well,
drinking your coffee. You're drinking your coffee.
All right, but your favorite is the Steve. Because it's your coffee, because it's your coffee, right? Okay.
And at some point, I think a customer asked what it is I drink, and I said, and it kind of built from there. She would come up and say, I'd like a Steve, and then so what's a Steve?
What's a Steve?
And of course, it's a half-calf latte, right?
Right.
No. Okay. What is it?
It's so simple, but after all these years, I've been drinking espresso for probably 30 years. And people look at the menu, and they're like, I can see their eyes go cross. But it looks so complicated, but it really comes down to coffee, which is made in the espresso method, concentrated coffee, and milk usually, and then so you go from there and add some flavors. But it's however much milk you want to coffee, or vice versa.
If one were to have milk, but then you'd be wimpy if you had milk in there, huh?
Well, okay.
No,
You can say it. You can say it.
has milk in it.
You can say. You can say it has. I think it brings out the coffee. Essentially, there's a shot of espresso.
Nice.
You add a little bit of steamed milk to that, textured perfectly, silky, smooth texture.
That only Cafe P could support.
You have what's called a macchiato.
Macchiato.
Yeah, which basically in Italian means either
really good coffee.
marked with a spot of foam.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's just a step away from straight. And next in the line is a cappuccino, just more milk. It comes in a 7 to 8 ounce cup.
Yeah.
I'm in between. What I just make every morning, what I it's evolved over the years, is 2 shots. with something in between a macchiato and a cappuccino. There it is. It's
Steve.
demystified.
Steve demystified.
Now, I have to confess, well, one of the things when I get my chai, virtually every morning, they ask me, I'm working my way to coffee. No, that's not true. I was having Americano for a while. You guys had me on Americano. And then I would go there, later on in the day.
Customers come and ask what they should have, and we tell them. We had you on Americano. So
that's right.
Mike's version. He's getting an Americano, and that's it. Don't give him what he asked for.
Please, whatever you want, don't give him Americano. We know it'll work. But I'll go there later in the day. I'll have my Americano. This is when I was doing it. I'll have my Americano, and then I'll go there later in the day, and I'll say, "Okay, can I have another Americano? How you doing, by the way? Yeah."
Cut him off.
It's like
They're
in
also
the beginning.
trained bartenders,
In the beginning, I was really afraid. I was afraid of caffeine because so you don't want to know me on caffeine. I got brave when your guys at one point insisted. It was like I would say, "Can I have a chai?" And I would say, "Decaf chai," and they'd stand, dude, dude would do this to me. He'd be like, "Decaf chai." And I'm like, yeah.
Is this Andrew or Karai?
Karai.
Perhaps.
Karai.
He's made a man out of me.
Right.
He says, "The real thing? You want the real thing? You want the real thing, right? Okay, I'll have the real thing. All right."
I'm here to tell you, though, our decaf is great.
I know, the decaf is really good. I was on it for a long time. But now I'm strung out on the real thing.
You talk about it like it's medicine. But
There's such joy, there's such pleasure in making it too. And there's a little design and stuff sometimes that goes into it. And my only concern is quantity, of course. I don't even care what it tastes like. No, it's really, really good. It's really good. And I do appreciate that most of my mornings I start off at Cafe P.
Well, that is the idea.
For my social club and my, checking the emails and my chai.
Office, social club.
And what does the future bring for Cafe P?
More and more, greater and greater.
Abundance.
Abundance.
Wine and beer.
Oh yeah, right. The root beer is incredible. I've had the root beer.
We know root beer on tap.
And I can't say what else I've had, or I'll be excommunicated or whatever the word would be.
Yeah, we do have root beer on tap, and that's something I thought would be really cool to have. I don't think people really know about it. Which is my fault. I tend to forget to say things like we only use Radiance, organic milk, and to me it's like, of course you'd use Radiance. Like, we have this incredible milk.
Incredible milk. There you go. And incredible root beer. Like I said, I had.
Yeah. So now we have root beer on tap. Is it all right to say what else we have on tap?
Yes. You could say Jason Strong, advisor and director and producer. Okay. Yes, we're getting a nod. Yes.
On tap that are not root beer.
Okay. Do you have a microbrewery happening? And that's.
We have microbrews on tap.
Nice.
Yeah. I thought it'd be a wonderful thing to do some local brews. There's a brewery, there's several around. I can't think of where they all are, but that's proven to be a little trickier than I thought because they're small and it can be tricky to get a consistent supply. But still, we do.
How many of those do you sell in the morning? It's a joke. It's
Yeah.
a joke.
I don't think.
Ixnay on the morning, May.
I'm not telling.
No, I don't imagine very much. With this clientele, there's like zero. But you do okay at night. People are experimenting and people are buying more tasty.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it'd be great for, especially the shows.
Yeah.
So that's been going on for a while now, and I think it's taken a while for people to realize it's there, but it's starting to pick up.
Anything we should know about as far as is there anything that's going to change or evolve as far as the music that you're bringing into town?
Well, I can't really talk about this in detail just because I don't know the details, but we're working on funding for the shows because shows aren't really where the money is, to put it bluntly. Mm-hmm. In a way, it's more for the love of it, but I also feel it's very important to the spirit of the cafe. In some ways, essential to the spirit of the place. Yeah. But we're we've run pretty close to the line a lot with the shows. Often we lose a little money, and occasionally we make some money. But we're working on a nonprofit aspect just for that.
Interesting.
Which will help make that more comfortable. Help bring in, I think, even higher level, because we'll be able to afford a higher level
Of act.
of act, yeah, or at least we shouldn't say higher,
Higher
but,
level, right.
more.
Prestigious.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can say that. I mean, we do get some,
Some great-
Grammy nominees
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff.
Matthew, we had Matthew Santos here. You got to be
Matthew
sending
Santos.
some more. We got to get Aeneas Mitchell.
Yeah, Aeneas Mitchell, amazing artist.
We got to
Peter
send
Brown.
them. You send him over to Crew. We got to get him over here.
Yeah, we'll send him.
And also you have the open mic on Wednesdays, right?
Yeah.
That's a new thing.
Yeah, well, it's new. It's revived.
Oh.
We had it for years at the old place, and
Yeah.
whoever I think was anchoring the open mic moved away, and no one stepped forward to do that, so it kind of died away. But
So now you got it revived, yeah. What
Yeah.
about the older place? We have about a couple of minutes left, but can you just give a quick recap as far as the older place?
yeah, we opened up about 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in June, beginning of June, and that was at what we call the Broadway building.
Right.
607 West Broadway.
Where Vivos is.
Where Vivos
The building
is, exactly,
Vivos.
yeah. It was great space. I loved that space. I saw the space and, I thought this is it. This has got the vibe. This is what I want, where I want the cafe to be. But it's 6 blocks off the center of town. So, I'm from a big city. I thought 6 blocks, you'd be lucky to have a parking place that close. It'd be like
That's
a
a
great
lot.
day. Thank you, God.
Yeah.
I got to park 6 blocks away. But that was a little bit, off the beaten track. And so it was a bit of a struggle. But we struggled through, 7 years there, maybe.
How long are we over at the corner here? 3?
I think it'll be 3 at the end of this year.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been 3. We followed you guys.
The voice of
okay,
Jason
We
Strong.
were across the hall in the Broadway building.
Yeah,
That's
From
right.
you guys. You
Right.
guys
That's
moved
what-
here
that's
right,
a year
that's right,
later.
yeah,
We
yeah.
moved in.
And that's when we were FPAC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, in this configuration. All right, and then the only other thing I want to ask you is it Sundays, maybe in the summer, where everybody will be able to come to the park and see you do your acrobatics? Your tightrope walk?
I'm not the only one. Slackline.
It's
He's
wonderful,
referring to
though.
slackline.
Slack.
Soon. We'll be
Yeah,
back in
soon.
the
It's
park.
it's
Yes.
becoming lively in our awareness.
Okay.
It's time to stretch the line.
Absolutely. And will you be there with your tinctures just in case somebody falls?
Yes, she's going to send a little
Okay,
booze.
nice. All right, so I guess that's about it. And I want to thank everybody for watching Fairfield 2.0 and putting up with some of my antics. I do appreciate that very much. But I especially want to thank the Giacomini's, Merritt Giacomini, Steve Giacomini, for coming here today and having this really wonderful discussion about all things Cafe P and all things Giacomini. And really, let's do this again, especially if you have, when you have, like I said, when you have guests coming through town, let's get them over here.
Yeah.
Matthew Santos loved it. We had a really good time with him that day.
That's something, I don't know if there's time to say it, but that's something I did wish I could have worked into this week. The artists love Fairfield. I mean, those audiences we get, you were saying they love their hometown.
Yeah.
But their hometown artists, but one artist after another, they just, even if they don't get a great turnout, they just love the quality of the audience. They're so appreciative, and we've actually found out that we're nationally known
Yeah.
for that quality. I mean, I get everyday agents contacting me for, at this point, they're actually coming to me.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So
Nice.
anyway, I just want that. It's been really also gratifying.
That's a great, and that's a really better place to end the show. Thank you very, very much for coming on here, and all the best with Cafe P and everything in the future.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Phone rings.
We may need that.